listening to the Night Demon Network. Go to nightdemon.net/subscriber to unlock more exclusive content.
Every weeknight, it's Buzz After Dark.
You like that?
Tonight, with Eric Steele.
Hang out with me Monday through Friday from 7 to midnight for the Buzz After Dark. It's kind of like the Titanic, except instead of 3 hours to sink, it takes 5 hours.
Freaks come out at night, that's for sure.
Welcome to the blessed night. Yeah!
The Buzz After Dark. After Dark.
All night long.
Awesome tunes, clothing optional.
You enjoyed the ride.
Weeknight 7 to midnight on 102.9 The Buzz. Bill's Rock Station.
Night Demon fans and friends, we are calling upon you to get Welcome to the Night added to rotation on 102.9 The Buzz. Text the Buzz hotline at area code 615-399-1029 to request Night Demon's Welcome to the Night. That's area code 615-399-1029. You know what to do.
Hello and welcome to the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast. I'm your host, Nesbitt. Night Demon is a band that was built on the road. If you look at the touring history on nightdemon.net, you can see how much they live for the road. Months and months at a time, traveling and playing shows. It's not uncommon for them to play 23, 24, 25 shows in a month. One of those tours was in 2017. This is episode number 24, touring with Anvil. In 2016, Canadian metal legends Anvil released their album Anvil is Anvil, and to support it, they booked a US tour with Night Demon as the opening act. It started in Boston, March 2nd of 2017, and started with a string of East Coast dates before moving through the South and back up, ending in Cleveland, Ohio on April 9th. So there are 23 shows opening for Anvil. But Night Demon also filled in free gaps on the tour with their own shows. In fact, they played an additional 8 shows of their own on that tour for a total of 31. So 31 shows in 5 weeks, which is pretty intense, but it's also pretty normal for this band. So here's the guys with some more on the Anvil 2017 tour.
We toured with the legendary Anvil all through the United States in the spring of 2017. Actually, it was kind of like late winter, right before Darkness Remains came out.
If I can remember correctly, we got introduced to Anvil by playing, I think we did like 3 shows with them, and we were able to go out and do our thing and meet those guys. I remember one of the first times that I got into the backstage area with Robb Reiner, I was like super nervous because, in the drummer world, he's a legend. And, I had seen the Anvil movie, and I was a fan of that, and I just thought that the movie was brilliant, and I thought that Rob was hilarious because all he wants to do is smoke weed and play drums, and that's really what he's like.
Their last record, I think, had an angel smoking a bong on it, and it was called Legal at Last because weed had just been legalized in Canada. But I'm telling you, for the people out there that think they smoke a lot of pot, they have nothing on these guys. Nothing. I mean, Robb Reiner smoked joints like more than I used to smoke cigarettes, which is a lot. And it just never fazed him and stuff. And I remember one time we were, I think we were in New Orleans, and we were in the van, and we were just hanging out. And he used to hang out in our van all the time, just all day long, just like before the show, after sound check, and a lot of times after the show. We became really good friends with that guy, and he's super awesome. But we were in New Orleans, and we were just hanging out. You know, we call it the hurry up and wait. Basically, you get there early, load in, sound check, and then you're just waiting around all day, waiting for dinner, then waiting for the doors to open, waiting for the opening bands to play, and then having your shot to play, and then packing up and having to do it all again. But anyway, we were sitting there and in our van, and he was out there, and he was talking about them doing another movie, a follow-up movie. I don't know whatever happened with that. But I remember it was about time for us to go on stage, and Dusty was warming up in the van, I think on his practice pad. He was outside doing his stretches and all that, but he was warming up on the practice pad for a good while, maybe 20, 30 minutes. And then he just asked Rob, he said, "Do you ever warm up? I never see you warm up before a gig." And he said, "Man, I've been warming up for 40 years, man." So, I mean, and it's true. You know, he goes out there and he absolutely kills it. I mean, that guy knows his way around a drum kit. Also, the opening touring band Grave Shadow was really cool. Armand ended up recording their next record after that tour. But they were really nice guys. I think they kind of got the shaft a little bit, though, because I think part of them being on the tour was that they had to be crew for Anvil, so they were like loading stuff in and out all the time for them. I felt really bad for them for that. But the good thing is I don't think they had to bring much in the way of gear, and I believe they were using Rob's drum kit every night. So that's one thing that is cool.
Another thing with the Anvil tour, so Anvil would go on last, of course, and Rob would always have his drums set up. And, you know, of course, when you're the headliner, you don't want to break your drums down. That's like the one thing. So a lot of times, like the headlining drummers will have their drums on a riser and they stay put, and then band set up in front. Well, Rob suggested that the opening bands just play on his drum set. So, and Rob's a really tall guy, and he plays traditional grip, meaning he holds the stick like the old school way in his left hand. And his kit's set up for him. It's custom. It's like any drummer, when you play on your drum set, and that's what you're used to, you know? So he's like, "Oh, yeah, just play on my stuff. It'll be fine." Okay. So it was me and the drummer in the band Grave Shadow, who was the other opener. And I think it only took like 2 shows, because he used to let us use his cymbals and everything. I think after like 2 shows of us playing on it, we broke his cymbals, and he got kind of mad about that. So he's like, "All right, well, just put your cymbals up." And his toms were all high and flat, and his snare was all low. And he put a 3rd rack tom on the left, and then he had this like contraption for his hi-hat stand so that the foot pedal was in the right spot, but the hi-hat was really far over. It was just really uncomfortable to play. And I remember at one point just telling Rob, like, "Hey, dude, I'm not playing your drum set anymore. I'm sorry if you want to like save time and stuff. Like, the dude from Grave Shadow can play on it, but I'm going to set up my drums in front. I don't care how big or small the stage is. My drums are going up front, because I'm not going to, you know, alter our performance just based on your comfort." So that's what I did. I just set up my drums in front of him every night. And I remember one show in particular, I think we were in like Arlington, Texas. There was a really small venue. At least the venue was a decent size, but the stage was really small. It wasn't very deep. And I literally was like on the front of the stage with my drum kit. But, you know, the guys in Night Demon knew that I wasn't going to be messing around on somebody else's drum set and, you know, affecting our performance like that. So really, really fun tour. That was cool overall to go out on the road with those guys and clown around and learn from them. And I think they learned a few things from us too.
But yeah, it was just a good vibe all around. It was a good tour.
Oh man, there's so much of this Anvil. I think this whole episode could be about the Anvil tour, man. It's crazy. We played in Houston, the White Oak Music Hall. But anyway, we did the gig. It was cool. And then afterwards, the guy told us, hey, man, go down to this bar, you know, downtown. Tell him I sent you and everything's on me. One of those kind of things, you know. So we did. We did that. Went over there. Drank a whole bottle of Jack or something like that on these guys' tab, you know. And then dude's asking us, like, well, who's paying for this? Who's paying for this? Like, no, it's on Greg's tab, man. Greg's got it, right? You know, yeah, all right, cool. For a minute there, it got a little scary because I think that these guys thought we were pulling their arm or something like that, you know. Well, we ended up going over to their tattoo shop after the bar. And that's where Dusty got his tattoo of the Night Demon sigil on the inside of his wrist.
I ended up getting tattooed on the Anvil tour. We were going from Houston to Austin, and we ended up staying in Houston and hanging out with Greg from Venomous Maximus, and he ended up tattooing me at like, I think he got started at like 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and by the time he finished, it was like 7:30 in the morning, and I drove us straight from Houston to Austin to our friend Sean Weingartner's house.
And that was a long night. We were there, I don't know what the fuck time in the morning. Our buddy Waldo, who was on the tour with us, who was roading for us, also got a tattoo, you know, on his chest or something like that. I don't think Jarvis got anything that night, and I didn't get anything that night. I just watched and drank and hung out and partied. And then after all that, we decided to get in the van and drive to fucking Austin because we didn't have anywhere to stay, and I think we had a day off. I think it was one of those like Sunday night gigs, so we didn't have something on Monday. And I think the next gig was in Austin, so we were going to go and hang out with our buddy Sean Weingartner, who we have a key to his house. So we decided to take off early in the morning. As the sun was coming up, we were walking out of this tattoo shop, probably not in the best of, I wouldn't say the most sober state, but Dusty, like the true champion he is, was sober just enough to decide to do the drive, which from Houston, I think is a good 5 or 6 hours, you know? So we rolled into Sean's around 11 a.m., just like fucking.
And I think I took a nap for like, I don't know, I think it was like an hour and a half, and then we loaded into the venue in Austin. So that was a crazy night. And I ended up getting the Night Demon sigil tattooed on my right wrist. And that was a really fun, crazy night.
All hail, Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast listeners. This is Dusty Squires chiming in to tell you about my brand new signature sticks from the London Drumstick Company. I've dreamt of having my very own drumsticks ever since I was a wee lad, and LDC made that a possibility for me. Founded in 2016 in London, England, the birthplace of heavy metal, the London Drumstick Company has trailblazed a path through the music industry and taken the drummer world by storm. When I met them for the first time, they knew their product was going to withstand the beatings of a Night Demon show. They took the time to work with me on getting everything just right. The balance and weight of my sticks are the same no matter what, and the durability is bar none the best I've ever had. I know my sticks will last through the set night after night. I'm truly honored to work with a company that caters to their players the way LDC does. Their innovation and attention to detail is what separates them from the rest of the stick makers out there. Their custom stick sleeves are unbelievable and really make the entire presentation complete. Wait until you see the design they came up with for me. It blew my mind and was a surprise to say the least. They have all kinds of amazing swag, including hoodies, t-shirts, drummer shorts, drum keys, stick bags, towels, face masks, practice pads, and much, much more. Even if you're not a drummer, you can be a part of Demon history and order my brand new signature sticks direct from their website. How cool is that? And to top it off, the London Drumstick Company are giving an exclusive offer to the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast listeners. Go to londondrumsticks.co.uk and receive a 15% store-wide discount using promo code DEMONSTICKS. All capital letters, no spaces, Demon Sticks. DEMONSTICKS. I can't thank everyone there enough for the opportunity to be a part of their family and for them trusting me with their amazing products. See you metal maniacs on the road very soon. And yes, the wood chips will be flying.
Just hanging out with Anvil every night was a lot of fun, and Lips was a little harder to kind of gauge and read, and he kind of kept to himself a bit more.
And Lips, you know, I think that movie's a great representation of how those guys are. I mean, they really are like that. I mean, we saw them, you know, getting some pretty gnarly fights like brothers, you know, but then make up right after. And Lips, you know, they call Lips for a reason. There was one thing on that tour where we had played in Philadelphia, and the following day I get a message from Lips on Facebook, and he's like, I'm going to paraphrase, but he's like, man, not cool what you're doing, pulling rock star moves like that. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, apparently a fan from the show had told Lips that I fake signed a record for him, which is weird because I've never even heard of that before. But basically the guy said that he bought a record from us, and he came up to me after our performance and asked if I would sign it. And I apparently pretended to sign it and gave it back to him, and he was super pissed. And he decided to take to Facebook and tag us in all these posts and basically telling everybody what a piece of shit I am. And so I'm just like, why the fuck would I even do that? But it bummed me out a little bit that Lips just automatically took this guy's side and was just calling me out on it instead of asking me about it. So I ended up getting a hold of the fan, and we talked it out. And I was like, look, man, I would never do anything like that to you. And the real story was, it was really dark in the club, and he came back to me I was coming out of the bathroom, and he came out to me and was like, hey, can you sign this record? And I said, yeah. So, I mean, it was so dark. The Sharpie that he had probably just was out of ink. I think he got it from the merch table or something. And, you know, I do remember signing his record. There's no way that I would pretend to sign his record. So I'm glad we got that cleared up. And actually, we did send him another autograph copy in the mail. And he's been cool ever since. And he's been a good fan, and he's kept up with us. And I see his posts on social media every now and again. And, you know, it's cool. Like, when you have a misunderstanding like that, if you're able to turn it around in a positive way, that would be cool. And it always is cool. And I'm glad we could do that. But just like, it was just one of those things where when the headlining band on your tour, you know, starts calling you out on shit, it's just kind of like, man, you just don't want that kind of negative energy on tour with the band that's taking you out. So, you know, I hope I cleared that up with him too. And, you know, I know Lips and I are still cool. We've run into each other since and have smoked a bowl together and hung out, and all that's good. Another funny moment about that tour, we were playing in Dallas at some weird, like, roadhouse, like, roadside biker bar kind of thing. And there was some drama when we showed up.
Okay, we almost didn't play the show because one of our good friends, who they call Spicoli. They call him Greg Spicoli. He's a radio DJ in the area and a good friend, good fan. Well, he had beef with the promoter because this guy was notorious for screwing over bands and stuff like that. So when he showed up, well, we put his name on the list, and the promoter at the show, or the guy, I don't know if it's a promoter or whoever owned the bar, saw his name and was like, hell no, this guy's not coming in. And we're like, what do you mean he's not coming in? Like, that's our good buddy. You can't tell us who we can and not have on the list, so that turned into a whole big thing. And yeah, I don't remember what the beef was, but that was why that night started out the way it was. I mean, yeah, we were literally like, well, fuck you if you're not going to let our friend in, and we're not going to play, like, this guy doesn't cause any trouble. And it's true, he's a really good dude. He doesn't, I've never known him to cause any trouble anywhere, But it was a weird bar too. I remember this place had a giant fucking X-Wing from Star Wars hanging in the middle of the bar. And it was totally out of place. Like, this place looked like Jarvis said, it looked like the fucking Roadhouse, It looked like an old saloon from like the Western days, where it even had like the second floor with like the railing where, you turn around and you shoot the guy from up there and he falls over and stuff like that. I mean, it was totally that kind of place, man. Like, total like backwoods. I mean, not backwoods, but just, man, real country bar, with an X-Wing flying in the middle of it for whatever reason.
But the owner of the club or the promoter, I mean, they had some big pool tournament in the back. It was just really strange. I think ticket sales might have been kind of low. He had been toying with the idea of canceling the show, or we kept trying to advance the show, and we never heard back from the guy. We didn't know what was going on, but we all showed up. And he ended up yelling at us about gear or something. I mean, it was just a screaming match right when we showed up, and this guy was getting crazy. And something between them and Anvil, I don't know. It was basically on the verge of, we were about to pack up and leave the whole touring package, but we ended up staying and doing the show.
And I remember there was an opening band that was a complete like Pantera ripoff. At least the drummer was. Like, he had the same exact size drum kit that Vinnie Paul would use, and same hair and everything like that. It was one of those like time warp places where you just go in and you're like, where am I? What is this? This is like a Twilight Zone episode or something, Great stuff. Another little thing too. I remember there was a bar next door. There was another club, and it was called something like the America's Bar or something like that. But it was a straight up Mexican bar, but it was called America's Bar, and it was a total Mexican, like, mariachi kind of place, but called America's Bar or something like that. Lips' dildo got stolen and broken by somebody. I think they found it in the parking lot or something like that.
So I remember Lips had his dildo, his vibrator, which he used, he's used forever. I guess that's his shtick, his gimmick. And with his guitar solo, he uses like the vibrator on the guitar and stuff. And he did a solo that night, and something happened. And I remember near the end of their set, him basically before the encore saying, like, really pissed on the mic, "Hey, somebody stole my dildo. It's in here somewhere. Somebody took it. It's like, it was on top of my amp and it's not." And I guess he has like a special vibrator that like he's had forever, and like that's the stage dildo or stage vibrator or something. I don't know. Anyway, it got to a point, I mean, it was already tense in there that day, and it got to the point where I think like the promoters were kind of like locking the doors and being like, nobody's leaving until we find this thing. And it ended up, I don't know how it magically ended up back on top of his amp or something, but it had been broken. I don't know. Just really, really shady stuff surrounding that whole day. It actually was pretty fucking cool. It actually ended up being a really nice gig, and people showed up and they were really happy.
So we're in Miami, Florida.
All right, thank you so much, Miami! You guys are fucking awesome! We got one more here for you guys. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. From Ventura, California. We'll see you again. Night Demon!
this was one of the days off where we booked our own show. So we had a headlining show, and we played a place called Church Hills. And, you know, it was kind of a dingy kind of metal bar, but it was cool. It had the right vibe, and it was definitely like probably the only metal bar in Miami, because Miami's pretty, you know, it's all clubby and all that kind of thing. So we had a good feeling about the show. It was going to be good. You know, the headliner shows at that point in the States were a little rough, but certain areas were better than others. We weren't sure how that was going to go. I don't know if the guys had been out there before I was in the band, but that was definitely my first time playing Miami with them. So, you know, we were at this place. The backstage was kind of like in the back of the building around the corner and like another little part of the building. So it's kind of detached from the venue, but we could still hear the opening band sound checking and stuff. And I'm hearing like Deep Purple riffs and shit like that. I'm like, man, this kid, you know, whoever this guy is, he's fucking got the Richie Blackmore thing down, you know? And then, you know, we had seen him loading in some stuff, his gear, and he had like a brand new, you know, vintage Marshall stack, you know, like a full stack. And we're like, damn, all right. He had the white Strat, he had the black leather pants, and the white kind of frilly shirt. And we're like, dude, check this kid out, man. And he was, you know, younger, probably in his, you know, 19 or 20 or something like that. So we watched him play, and it's a total Deep Purple worship kind of band, you know? Like, I even think they covered 3 or 4 Purple songs, and they were really good. So, but the whole time we're just kind of wondering, like, who this kid is, you know? Like, he's got to know somebody, or it's got to be somebody's kid. Well, sure enough, we made friends with the drummer, this dude named Brian, who, little did we know, it turns out that guitar player who didn't hang out after the show, he took off right after the show, it was Yngwie Malmsteen's son. And then it all made sense, because he had the look like his dad, he had the hair. He didn't quite have the chops, I would say, but everything else made sense after that. So, funny story. So this dude, we ended up going out to Denny's with him, you know, after the gig, and he's telling us stories about being buddies with Yngwie's son, you know, and meeting Yngwie and all this, you know, funny ass shit. You can imagine Yngwie driving around Miami in his Ferrari with the top down, you know, giving his son a ride to rehearsal, but dropping his kid off 2 blocks down the street because he didn't want to be seen, you know, so people don't punish him at the fucking rehearsal room or whatever. So, whatever, we're hanging out, do our thing, we eat, we pay, we take off, you know, we're going to go out for the night, we're leaving. I don't know if we're going to go home or we're going to the next gig, or I don't know if we had a hotel room that night, but we're about, you know, 10 minutes away from the Denny's, and Jarvis starts freaking out. He's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, holy shit, fuck, I left the fucking money bag at Denny's. We're like, what are you talking about? Are you fucking serious? We used to carry around, he had this like security bag. It was like a satchel, you know, but it was like made out of like steel mesh or something like that. It had these straps on it with like a fucking, like a bicycle lock. And wherever we would go, we'd take it with us, and then we'd like, you know, bike lock it to like, you know, the bottom of a table or something that was cemented into the ground. So instead of leaving it in the van when we were in Denny's, he brought it in and tied it around, you know, actually, I don't even think he tied it down. He just left it underneath the fucking table. So, fuck, what do we do? First thing, call them right now and tell them we left that there, and, you know, don't mention the money. Obviously, it had all of our money in it from the fucking tour. And at that point, you know, it was a good ways into the tour. So, you know, there was a good amount of money in there. So, fuck, man, we call them and we're like, hey, we were just at this table. We left this bag under there. Please tell us that you found it. And luckily enough, they did take the bag and put it behind the desk, you know, the hostess desk or whatever after we left. Man, that was a close call, because little did they know, you know, there's a ton of money in this thing, but it didn't look like that kind of a bag or something. So we got lucky with that one.
Metal Blade Records presents the return of heavy metal legends Armored Saint with their 8th full-length album, Punching the Sky. A diverse, attitude-drenched collection, it's everything the band's faithful have come to expect from them while pushing their signature sound forward. Featuring 11 hard-hitting tracks, available on double LP and Digipack CD. Right now, Metal Blade Records is giving all Night Demon Heavy Metal podcast listeners a 15% store-wide discount on all Metal Blade releases and merchandise, including this masterpiece from Armored Saint. Go to indiemerch.com/Metalblade Records and enter promo code NDPodcast at checkout. This store is loaded with tons of swag from some of the best bands in metal, like Midnight, Sirith Ungol, Merciful Fate, Angel Witch, Satan, and of course, the mighty Armored Saint. That's indiemerch.com/Metalblade Records, promo code NDPodcast. So march like a saint and take the last train home. Can you deliver?
So I'm going to go back to the Anvil tour, and I'm going to add a little something. I'm going to add in a night that we like to call Cincinnati. So we had a gig at a place called, I think it was called the Mad Frog in Cincinnati, Ohio. Now, Ohio, you know, some of you may know that we have a really, really, really big following in Ohio, and we have a really awesome group of people that we call from Cleveland area, outlying area, that are some of our best fans or greatest fans. We love them. Every time we're in the area, we always do something special for them. Obviously, the live album was done there and everything. Well, one of these kind gentlemen who goes by the name, well, I'll just leave the name out. Anyway, when he found out that we were going to play a place in Cincinnati and not play his venue, which is basically in his garage, a very large garage. I think everybody knows what we're talking about now. Anyway, he got kind of drunk one night. We first showed up, we drove out, and we met up with those guys on the way out. I don't remember where the first show was, but it was obviously far enough out for us to make a pit stop in Cleveland and hang out with our buds over there. And yeah, he was calling it, you know, the Mad Frog. Fuck the Mad Frog. Why the fuck ain't you playing the Den? Fucking Frog's Den. And he kept saying how, you know, it's going to be a terrible show. No one's going to be there. And I can't believe you're not doing my venue and this and that and this and that. We're like, don't worry, man. It's going to be good. I know all you guys are going to come out anyway. So sure enough, the Cleveland family drove to Cincinnati. So venue we played, Mad Frog. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. Your standard venue, stage in the corner, maybe fit 100, 200 people, something like that. Nothing out of the ordinary. The one out of the ordinary little thing was that underneath the venue was another bar, and they had basically put the bands down there as that was our backstage. So that's where we would hang out before the set and all that, get ready, get, whatever we do, tune up, warm up, all that good stuff, have our food and everything. So after the show, the owners come up to us we're trying to hang out a little bit. Everybody's partying, drinking whatever beers, getting pizza delivered. And they're like, hey, you guys got to clear your stuff out of here. That's it for the night, blah, blah, get your stuff out of the room downstairs. Well, not a room, it was a whole nother club. It was just as big as the club upstairs. Had a bar and everything. So we're like, all right, yeah, whatever, getting our stuff. And then I noticed that, by the front door, there's a line of people. And they're all kind of in line and starting to go down the stairs to the room down there. And there's a guy that's taking money at the door. And it's a lot of gangster type looking people, a lot of ladies all done up, big hair, very large platform shoes, wondering, okay, what's going on down there? Must be another show or something, right? So whatever, put my stuff back in the van, go back out to the patio where all our Cleveland buddies are hanging out. And I see this girl walk up the stairs in a full-on bikini, G-string, 7-inch platform heels, bright pink hair, the whole deal, just kind of hanging out outside. We're like, what the hell's going on here? And then sure enough, here comes another chick from downstairs, walking upstairs. And, it was cold out, Another one's got fur on and whatever. They're, all their junk's kind of hanging out. We're like, what is going on down there? Turns out, underneath the venue, after our show, they turned the club downstairs into a, I guess you would call it a pop-up strip club. So, being the curious gentleman that we are, we had to go down there and check it out. So we did. And it was a very interesting situation. There was no stage or anything where, at a normal strip club, the girls would be dancing on, you throw money at them. No, they were just dancing on the floor with everybody hanging out. So it would be like a group of guys around a chick, and she'd be dancing in the middle of the ring, and people throwing money at them, doing whatever. So it was very kind of anything goes. People were drinking out of bottles, There was a bartender, kind of, but it was like a bring your own beer thing. The real kicker for me, though, was in the back corner of the room, they had a little thing set up, and they were fucking frying chicken and selling fried chicken in the strip club or whatever the hell it was. So literally, you could be chewing on a fucking thigh while you're grinding up on a real thigh, putting dollar bills in that thing. So, it was pretty interesting. And those guys, I'll tell you what, they're glad that they all drove out, fucking made the 2-hour drive to come to fucking Cincinnati to hang out with Night Demon, I'll tell you that. They forgot all about Cleveland after that night.
I think another thing to mention about touring with Anvil is actually before we did that tour with them, the year prior, we did, I think, 4 or 5 shows with them on the West Coast. And I think we started up in San Francisco, and then we did, I think, Vegas, LA, San Diego, and Phoenix. And man, it was so hot in Phoenix. And I remember our air conditioning went out, and that was like, I think, the straw that broke the camel's back for Andrew, our roadie. I think that was like the last time he actually went on tour with us. But yeah, I remember just driving back. And actually the same thing happened. We drove back from Austin, Texas once straight home, and with no air conditioning in this van, in August or whatever. you just like, you have to have the windows down because you need air, you need oxygen. But it's basically just imagine just a hair dryer on high, on full blast on your face for just hours on end. That was a really good time. I don't miss doing that, and I hope that we will not have to do that again.
Hey guys, Jarvis jumping in here. I want to tell you about Shadow Kingdom Records. Shadow Kingdom was the first domestic label to release Night Demon on CD. They put out the EP in 2013, and they also released the vinyl version of Live Darkness. Listen, you guys need to get your ass to the Shadow Kingdom Records store, okay? Right now, they're offering 10% off for all Night Demon Heavy Metal podcast listeners. Just go to the website, put in the code NIGHTDEMON10. That's Night Demon 10, all capital letters, Night Demon 10. No spaces. Put that promo code in upon checkout to get 10% off. Right now, guys, they have the Bloodstar 7-inch, which has sold over 1,500 copies, and these guys cannot hold on to it. So this next pressing, you want to get that before it goes out, okay? Also, SKR Compilation Volume 1. Guys, this is free on Bandcamp. They're giving it away for free. So not only are you going to go to shadowkingdomrecords.com and put in the code, all capital letters, no spaces, Night Demon 10 upon checkout, you're also going to go to their Bandcamp site and get this compilation for free. You're going to hear tons of fantastic fucking heavy metal. If you love us, you're going to love this label. Check it out, shadowkingdomrecords.com. Put in the promo code NIGHTDEMON10 and receive 10% off of your entire order. Do it.
And it's kind of hard for me sometimes to like really remember a lot of these stories because a lot of times on tour I'm just so tired, especially in the States, because I do majority of the driving, or I did back then. Back in those days, we all hit it pretty hard as far as partying goes. So a lot of times after gigs, I would be asleep. Like, we would finish and I would we'd load up the van and then I would just go to sleep because I knew that we'd either have to drive super far or, maybe we were going to stay somewhere that night. I don't know. It's kind of blurry. I know the Anvil guys would always get like Motel 6s and stuff. They would drive away from the venue like at least 2 hours and then go get a hotel. We only played shows Thursday through Sunday on that tour. So we'd have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off. They took those days off.
Those guys only like to play 4 days a week. So Thursday through Sunday. So Monday through Wednesday, every week was off. And their theory was that people don't come out to shows on those nights. And, granted, there's probably some truth that there's a lesser turnout going to shows Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But, for a touring band like us, taking 3 days off a week, it's good for rest, but it's not financially, it's not very good. Regardless, we respect them for their decision, and we knew that coming into it, so we decided to take the tour, no problem. But yeah, on that tour, when we had days off, we would often try and fill them in with some headlining shows. And we did do a couple of them.
That time, we didn't have a pot to piss in, and we had to book shows if we could around those dates. I know we booked one in Sarasota, Florida that year around that run, and that was terrible. But in one particular instance, we were in Mobile, Alabama, and met up with our good friend Kit, and he had his brother Kevin there at the time. And we did a crawfish kind of like barbecue in his backyard, and we had the day off, but we ended up hitting the town the night before. I think we stayed there like 2 nights. So we asked this one bar if we could come in and set up and play, and they let us go in and play. and there wasn't any promotion or anything like that. So we came in the next night, and of course nobody showed up.
We ended up just going to this bar that he goes to sometimes, and just kind of asked if we could set up and play. And so we ended up doing that the following night. I think they had maybe gotten the word out a little bit, but nobody came. I mean, literally, it was Kit, his wife Jen at the time, and his brother Kevin. And that was it. And then some people started to trickle into the bar area and kind of be like, oh, hey, I remember when our set was over, people started to come in and they're like, yeah, play again. So I was like, oh, God. So we ended up actually getting some drinks at the bar after we played, and then we did go up again and play, I think, 5 or 6 songs.
I think Kit helped us pick out a lot of the songs on that set, and we...
But anyway, that set was really interesting. We had a crawfish boil at his house, which is a really big thing in the South, and a lot of bars do it out there. And we've, on previous trips through there, we've gone to some bars, and it's pretty cool. Like, they coordinate where one bar will, like Monday nights, they'll do a free crawfish boil for people that come in. And then on a Tuesday night, another bar would stagger it, and so on and so on. Anyway, we did one at his house, which was really cool. And we proceeded to write down the set list. I think Kit might have chosen the set list, but I don't have an actual copy of what we wrote on the tablecloth, but I have something here that he wrote later that I think we used on stage. And I don't know how, because this writing is so small, how we saw this, but it was a pretty relaxed gig. But anyway, so here it was. A lot of covers in here. Cold Gin and Deuce were the first two, so 2 Kiss songs. Full Speed Ahead, Curse of the Damned, Satan, Killer, Save Me Now, Into That End of the Void, Sabbath, Into Mastermind. So we were doing that then. That was cool. Made in Hell, Black Widow, Life on the Run, Flight of the Manticore, Darkness Remains, On Your Own, Dawn Rider, Stranger in the Room, Love Gun, God of Thunder. So a lot of Kiss in this set. Run for Your Life, Wasted Years, Black Sabbath's War Pigs, Ritual, Screams in the Night, Heavy Metal Heat, The Chalice, Night Demon. So what I seem to remember is from War Pigs on, I think that's probably when we got back up and played after having a few drinks for the people that had come in. Anyway, it was really cool. We love doing stuff like that, and it's really cool that we were able to do that for our friends and just be able to get up there and hammer some shit out and have fun on tour. I mean, that's the main thing. We want to have fun, and we want to play, and we want to enjoy playing. And oftentimes you can get burnt out really easily, but having that many days off in a week during a full tour is definitely, it lends itself to those kinds of opportunities where you can just kind of have fun again and in a low pressure situation.
So that's it, man. That's what we do. We just have a good time, and we don't do anything too crazy. You know, we haven't hurt anybody. We haven't screwed anybody over. I'm sure people have their own stories about us, but it's all in good fun. And hopefully there's more stories to be made and more episodes to come where we get into the deep, deep details of Tales from the Road with Night Demon.
All in all, I think touring with Anvil was a really positive experience for us, and it was a whole lot of fun just hanging out with those guys all the time. We did that West Coast run with them, and then about a year later, they ended up asking us to go out with them in the U.S. for an entire tour. And I do want to thank Bill Peters for initially turning them on to us. I mean, I think he's the one who told Robb Reiner about Night Demon, and him and Lips loved the band. And I also want to thank Jeff Keller, their manager, who also did a really good job of stepping up and making the right deal for Night Demon and really kind of giving us what we felt we deserved and what he felt we deserved as well. And he represented us well on that. So I do appreciate that. But it was really cool to just be around these guys, and especially at a point after we had seen that film years before, and for them to be kind of like a few albums removed from that. They had already kind of had the big push, the big reintroduction into stardom from that film, and had done some big things. And now they were kind of at a point where they had regrouped, and they were, you know, I kind of want to say a more independent band again. And
it was just a really nice time. The last time I think that we all hung out together as both bands was in Germany. A very sad day, actually. We had met them at the Headbangers Open Air Festival. We had a day off, and this was, I think, the week before we played Wacken. And Manila Road was playing that day, and I think Anvil was playing the next night, but they were there a day early, and so we had kind of shown up and just to kind of surprise the Manila Road guys, but the Anvil guys were there, and so it was awesome, and we just had a great day backstage, hanging out the whole day, really. The sad part that I mentioned of the day was that Mark the Shark Shelton, the leader and heart and soul of Manila Road, passed away that night. After the show, he had an unexpected heart attack. But we had a great day that day, and Mark was in good spirits, and he played a killer fucking show. But I remember vividly hanging out in the back all fucking day, just having beers and smoking a ton of pot between Mark the Shark, Brian from Manila Road, and of course Robb and Lips from Anvil. And it was really cool to run into those guys randomly. And it's kind of one of those things that you kind of, as a young band or as a next generation band, I would call Night Demon probably a next generation band or even a third generation band in the heavy metal game, to get to a point in our career where we can show up to a festival and get in and walk to the backstage and be reunited with legends like Manila Road and Anvil and have a great laugh and have them excited to see us too, and party and enjoy each other's company and respect the fuck out of each other. And so it's cool, every time I see that movie on television or I hear somebody talk about the band Anvil, I just know that those guys are our bros, and we can call them up anytime and talk shop. And we were talking about doing a lot more touring together, and actually one of Night Demon's goals is to tour Canada with them because that's where they're from, and they have offered that to us. Unfortunately, the COVID thing came up, so completely ruined the plans for that, but we plan to do something together, and Canada would be it for us. We want to tour the entire country of Canada, and we'd love to do it with a strong Canadian band, much like Anvil. So there you have it.
So Night Demon had a blast touring with Anvil, but after hearing all these stories, how does Anvil feel about it? Here's Lips with his take.
Hi everybody, this is Lips from the band Anvil. I'm just here to tell you that Night Demon kicks major ass. They opened up for us on a U.S. tour that we did a couple years ago, and we had an amazing time. It was awesome. I'd just like to say thanks to Jarvis and the boys. We'll see you again sometime. Thanks, bye.
So that's it for this episode. You can hear there's a lot of history there between the two bands. Besides that short West Coast tour, in this U.S. tour, Night Demon played 23 dates with Anvil, and in days off, they added gigs in Clifton, New Jersey, Miami, Sarasota, Mobile, Alabama, Tulsa, Cincinnati, St. Louis, and Des Moines, Iowa, for a total of 31 shows. Who knows, when touring resumes, maybe we'll see these two tour again. It'll be pretty cool. Canadian metal legends and Ventura, California metal legends in the making. So in the bonus section, we have photos from all over the tour, from the shows we talked about, and a lot more. The set lists, show posters, a ton more info, all in the subscriber section on nightdemon.net. Until next time, this is Nesbitt signing off.
I'm the devil wearing white. Come with me, take my hand. I'll lead you to the promised land. Drink from the chalice, the unholy grail.
Thanks for listening to the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast. Head over to nightdemon.net, click on the subscriber tab, and sign up to access exclusive weekly bonus content. If you would like to donate to support the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast, you can do so through PayPal at paypal.me/nightdemonmetal. Additionally, if you have not already done so, please subscribe, like, rate, and review the show on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Unbearable suspense keeps you on the edge of an abyss of terror.
Take a cult film odyssey into Cinemadness with Cinematic Void. Based in Los Angeles, Cinematic Void is a film series that specializes in horror and exploitation films. Currently, we are hosting Cinematic Void Up All Night in the Cinemadness movie, a monthly virtual screening series, as well as the Cinematic Void podcast, where we dive deeper into the world of cult cinema. You can find Cinematic Void on the World Wide Web at cinematicvoid.com, as well as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you like what we do, you can support Cinematic Void by joining our Patreon. Until next time, see you in the void.